No, wait, come on, stop. No, bad, don't leak, we're so close! The date was November 10th, 2024. I just uploaded a video onto my YouTube channel where I tried to see how far I could get in BTD6 Freeplay in the challenge editor where the balloons had maximum modifiers. Basically what these are is the slash game rule command in Minecraft. So basically, the balloons could have 20 times the HP, they could be 5 times faster, the ability cooldowns would be 5 times longer, and I would have to try and fight this. I lost around 151, a crushing defeat. A month later, I decided to get my revenge and make the balloon's minimum modifiers instead. However, I was only allowed to use one tower. I chose a Naylark of the Seas and I got to around 1,000, which makes sense because the balloons are 400 times easier, because they're 20 times weaker, and they move 20 times slower. But at the end of that game, I had $24 million. I realized that if I had that kind of money on round 1, I could absolutely get a max setup and survive a lot further than I did in the first video. And today, that is a challenge I'm going to set myself. I'm going to see how far I can get. Infinite cash versus maximum modifiers. As you can clearly see, $10 million is not infinite cash. However, unfortunately, it's the maximum amount I can give myself in the challenge editor because Ninja Kiwi sucks. I'm kidding, please sponsor me. But I have a question for you. What would be the first thing you would do when presented with $10 million in BTD6? Would you A. Get Paragons, B. Get Sun Temples, C. Get a bunch of tier 5s, or D. All of the above? It's a trick question, it's none of them. The correct answer is getting $1 million farming setup that makes you $100,000 per round and use it until around 130 until you have $24 million in the bank. But you would have guessed that. Yep, turns out the first thing you do when presented with nearly limitless cash is spend all of that cash to get down things that make you even more cash because paragons are expensive, and housing prices are rising, and the world is crashing, and I'm slowly going insane. To give you an accurate description of how difficult this challenge is, the Flying Fortress, Pirate Lord, and Triple XL Trap are all struggling with BFBs and Moabs. On round 84! How the hell is this setup supposed to get me to round 100? That BAD has over 500k health. That is something that only level 20 Azili or Paragons are going to be able to deal with. On top of that, it's 5 times faster than usual. This challenge is absolutely ridiculous, and I'm never doing this again. You know that it's a difficult challenge that the Flying Fortress, which is one of the strongest tier 5s in Balloon Tower Defense 6, is struggling popping round 96 without the help of Gluestorm, Icicle, Impale, and Balloon Crush. This may or may not be a difficult challenge, but I'll leave that up to you to decide. But now for the toughest challenge yet, round 100 BAD. If I'm gonna survive this bad, I'm gonna have to whip out the big guns, the ultimate legendary defensive tactic of level 20 Azili, because Hex can now attack bads, which is an incredible thing. Thank God for Azili, because if Azili's Hex didn't attack bads, then half of my videos would not actually exist. However, for the next few rounds, all I do is farm, and nothing interesting happens, so I'm just gonna skip it. And yes, I count getting the Engineer Paragon as not interesting, because even after all the buffs, he's still my least favourite. But Brazio, what could be so interesting around 108? Well, the thing that's interesting around 108 is that I sell all my farms to get down space for the tier 5 towers that I'm going to turn into Paragons. Except, strangely, for the TAC Paragon. I know it's in the game, but for some reason I don't get it here. It's probably because I forgot, and I do get them later in the run. Don't worry, the TAC Shooter Paragon does exist in this setup. Just not around 108. The reason that this challenge is actually really difficult is because of 3 things. Moab HP, Moab Speed, and ability cooldowns. Moab Speed and HP make sense because together they just make bads an absolute nightmare, but ability cooldowns is also really hindering because my strongest abilities, which are Call to Arms, Overclock, the Paragon abilities, Azili, are all 500% slower to cooldown than usual. And God help us with the Legend of the Night strategy. 15 minutes? For 8 seconds of black hole time? Absolutely not. That sounds very, very wrong when I say it out loud. Brazier then spent 17 years behind bars for his war crimes and atrocities committed. However, he somehow managed to escape his lifelong sentence and arrive back at his computer before round 140 because this damn game is taking so flipping long. Seriously, I have like 7.5 hours of footage. Round 140 is a very difficult level. However, I did not consent to this idea, making it a very easy level. I used boat hooking, okay? It's super powerful in this type of challenge. But now comes the boring and tedious part where I sit around getting pops on my towers, slowly hoping that I get a degree 80 paragon on all of them. And finally, after about half an hour, I do indeed get every single paragon to above degree 80. And now, you know what time it is. It's time for temples. Oh wow, I suddenly have a full map of 1110 temples. Look, I'm not showing you the footage of how I got these temples, just know that I absolutely did not have to restart 16 times because I sacrificed another temple. As you can see, we have already surpassed the round that we got to in the previous Max Modifiers challenge, because then we died at round 151, and look where we are at round 154. Incredible, we're not even close to dying. The B80s are only getting about halfway, and I haven't even used any of my abilities yet. Overclocks are going to be useful, but because the ability cooldown is 500% longer than normal, they're only going to be a 1 or 2 use thing, for when I'm in a real pickle and I need a failsafe to get out of said pickle. As you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm getting down a bunch of useful tier 4 and tier 5 towers. Also the attack shooter tier 5s, because now I'm finally farming pops for my attack paragon. Brazier, you stupid idiot. Most of the abilities that I actually get down is to help me escape the aforementioned vegetable prison. Wait. How are they fruit? Turns out the fruit CIA actually exists. So I'm going to be reading from a long list of vegetables that are actually fruits. The first one is avocado. Incredibly, avocado is a fruit because it grows on trees and it grows from the flowering part of a plant. The next one is corn because it grows on a tree and it also grows from the flowering part of a plant. Human feces are also a fruit because they grow on trees and they grow from the flowering part of the plant. Round 200 onwards is going to be incredibly difficult because fortified bads have tens of millions of health and they're traveling at much faster than what they're supposed to. So I'm going to pretty much guarantee need Azili's ability or Navok of the Seas if I'm going to actually kill them. Round 200 isn't going to be a problem because I can just buy and resell Azili, but after that it is going to actually cost me money, which is a bad thing, because even though I have infinite cash, I can still go into debt. The entire time, my goal for this challenge was to get to round 200, which is 50 rounds better than what I did without infinite cash, because in the first video I had to build my money from the ground up, and this time it was given to me. But 50 rounds isn't actually that big of a difference compared to infinite money, so I wonder what would happen if I actually had infinity money. Not just 10 million or 20 million or 30 million, but trillions and trillions of dollars. I wonder how far I could get then. Obviously I'm not going to test it because I don't have trillions of dollars, but maybe if we find a glitch one day and we can buy and resell Azili at maximum speed, we could. Actually, I kind of want to test that. And so I did. After beating round 200 successfully, which is the original goal of this challenge, I decided to figure out what the actual limit for this challenge was, if I had truly infinite cash. And after about an hour of testing, here was the best I could come up with. Azili's ability takes 20 seconds to pop a fortified bad, or any balloon really, because it does 5% of the balloon's original HP every tick, and each tick is 1 second. Now, if you sell and rebuy Azili, you can apply the effect to a different balloon, and the original one stays on. If it takes 23 frames for Azili's ability to be used, because 1 frame is to apply, 1 to place, 1 to select, 1 to change the targeting, 1 to use, and 1 to sell, and 19 to level them up, then we can assume around about 25 frames. Now, if we are frame perfect every single time, then we're probably going to get every single fortified bad bloom on the screen, just as a general acceptance. However, we also have to take into account the fact that the setup could be doing up to 1.5 or maybe even 2 million DPS, meaning that that's time saved from Azilia's ability and the bads would pop earlier. Now, I did a little bit of messing around with some math, and I went to the BTD6 wiki to figure out how fast the BADs would actually go through logs, and I came to the conclusion that at around 250, Azilia's ability alone would not be able to take down a fortified bad, because it gets through the entire map in 14 seconds. But, with the perfect setup, it could be done. So, the final answer to this question is anywhere between 250 and 350. Look, you have to take into account that the fact that I'm incredibly lazy, and also I've been working on this video for literally 2 weeks. I've wanted to do this actually for a while now. Now, some of you may want me to actually push the setup to its absolute limit until I die, but I'm not going to do that because at that point each round was taking upwards of 10, maybe even 15 minutes, and I'm not spending the rest of my summer holidays in my room playing Bloons Tower Defense 6. No, I'm going to spend it playing BTD Battles 2. So, the final answer for Infinite Cash versus Max Modifiers is round 250, is around 350. Unless you use 5% ability cooldowns in the Legend of the Nine-Man Energizer, then the real answer is Infinity! Yay!